Somebody kicked me into the direction of coming back to YouTube and producing more videos. It was something I was thinking about doing anyway, but I'm happy that I had someone to put the foot on my ass and push me along. I inquired what they would like me to make a video about. They asked to learn something about me, in appreciation of the kick in the right direction. I am about to fulfill that request. However, I'm still waiting for the clownogram. Warning, the following tale is an emotional one. I take no responsibility for your emotional response. Also, the following story is a true story. On the day I was born, it was the coldest day for that day of the year in 97 years. This relates to the tale. My father was a man who raised dogs, never more than one at a time, always a Labrador Retriever, and always named Babe. This relates to the following tale. When I was young, I always loved my dad's dogs, and from about the time that I could conceive of an animal ownership situation, I always wanted to have a dog. Every dog that I'd been around was either a strange dog or my father's dogs. And so I set about around the time that I was 7 or 8, letting it be known through what I think were subtle hints that I was interested in having my own dog. My very own dog, not my father's dog. And so it came about that at some time, either on my 9th, 10th, 11th, or 12th birthday, you'll forgive me, the tale will explain why my memory is foggy. I was given a puppy, probably freshly weaned. It was not a Labrador, which was fine. I liked the puppy, and it was mine. I was assured of its mineness. And so, of course, as my first original note stated, the time of my birth, and therefore my birthday, was not an especially warm time of the year. And once the joy and initial excitement of having a puppy came not to an end, but to a calmer state of rationality, which I possessed even at such a young age, I realized I would have to get arrangements made for the puppy. And so, being as direct as anyone who has experienced any of my video presentations has come to expect, I said, the puppy's going to stay inside with me, right? To which I was assured by my father that that would not be the case, because he was not housebroken. I was concerned, and I expressed my concern. I expressed the exact nature of my concern. It is cold outside. This is just a puppy, and it's my new puppy. Much like any child of any type of such young years expressed my concern as expected. And my father assured me that that was not going to happen, that he would be fine, and everything would be all right. My mother, there at the time, I'm sure must have felt the same concerns, deigned to to protest to some degree that it was indeed cold, and that this was indeed a very young puppy who probably hadn't been away from its mother and siblings for any longer than it had been in my possession. And my father assured us that the situation was that the puppy was not going to, quote-unquote, shit all over everything just because it might be cold. So, my excitement dampened, my mother's protestations ceasing. I spent the rest of the day enjoying my new puppy. And at the end of the day, it was surrendered to be put outside in a doghouse, where it would spend the night and would be perfectly fine, and I would see it in the morning, and everything would be all right. Now, if no hint has been given so far, let me be very clear. My father was a heavy drinker, and my mother was what you might describe as self-defeating, or a self-defeating defeatist. So as things go, my father went off to have his fun wherever it was he was going to go have his fun for the night at. I, of course being young, went to bed with much chagrin over the sufferings that I imagined the cold would bring to my puppy, but with the assured thought that the puppy would survive. And that was the way it was until I woke up the next morning and went outside excitedly, hopefully, to bring my puppy into the warmth where it would be safe from the cold. And it had been very, very cold. To my shock and horror, what I found was a very solidly frozen puppy. And now you might feel very sad for me, but I assure you, we are nowhere near the end of this tale. When I went inside, after an immeasurable number of minutes of standing, staring, trying to figure out what I could do to fix the problem, as anyone who knows about autism would say, your initial response is always to see the problem, find your blame for the problem, and then fix it as quickly and quietly before anybody can see it as you can. And I was very young, and I was not quite as well adapted to the world as my videos might seem to present me as at that time. So I did spend several minutes coaxing and pleading and begging and just generally freaking the fuck out, as you might expect. But we are not at the worst of it yet. If you're not sitting down, maybe you want to. Because I went inside, where it was nice and warm, where everyone had survived, and most everyone besides myself was still asleep. And I said to my father, "Dad, wake up." Of course, his standard hungover, whatever, and that went on for a little while. All the while, I'm still freaking out, because there's a problem. I think I'm to blame, and I don't know how to fix it. Eventually, he did awaken, and I told him, the dog's not moving, and it's cold. And he took his hungover time to process that information. And once he had got it processed, he immediately told me to go clean up, and I quote, the mess. But Dad, it's your dog. You're responsible for him. Now go clean it up. And I proceeded to wonder how the hell I was going to clean up a dog that I hadn't even convinced myself was not fixable. And my mother had awoken, and she had poo-pooed in my father's direction without any real protest at what was being said or whatnot. She was helpful in getting me a plastic bag, and then I went outside to proceed to not know what the fuck I was doing. Because at this point, I was so gone in the situation, I might as well have just stayed asleep. And I went outside and I looked at the dog and I stared at the dog and, of course, got tearful about the dog. And I just stood and stared at it. And I don't know, maybe 5 or 10 minutes later, I went back inside and explained that I couldn't do it. I didn't know how to do it. I didn't want to hurt the dog. Whatever. Anything to get some handle on anything that was going on at that moment. My father informed me that it was my dog. If my dog was dead, it was my responsibility and my fault. And that, since it was my fault, it was also my responsibility to clean up my mess. Now, this tale ends here. Not because it ended there, but because I don't know what happened next. I can take an educated guess that was plenty enough to throw me into a meltdown. One from which I remember nothing. I did learn my lesson that day. I have never since possessed any animal whatsoever. I often think that I would like to have a cat or a dog or some fish or something, but I never have. I will say that I have inherited some fish from some ended relationship. Those fish didn't last long. And now you know something about me. Thank you again for the kick in the ass to get me back here doing this. I do actually appreciate it.